let's talk about Christ as King for a moment.
Okay.
Okay. So this, you are familiar with the hullabaloo around that, correct?
To a degree. I know some people are calling it anti-Semitic to say
Yeah.
Christ is king and all that.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. There were people doing it to own Ben Shapiro and
Right.
and I think we agree that if you say something heinous and then you just follow it up with Christ as King,
Right.
that's not okay. Like
You're
it's,
right.
I think, as a 7-page reader of the Bible, I feel like I understand enough of it that like God would probably not be like down with that to like,
Right.
and that's as far as, I need to go with it. But then what I thought was interesting was there was this clip that came out and said, David French says, what we saw on Easter Sunday was a remarkable display of venom and hatred during Holy Week. Christians all over Twitter were posting Christ as King, specifically aimed to assert religious dominance in a very gross and ugly way. It's very dangerous. And before I get your take on that, which again, I don't know what religion David French is. I suspect I know, but I don't know.
Right, right.
But so Candace Owens retweeted this, and I'm no big fan of Candace Owens, just so people know. Like, I will defend her right to say certain things or whatever, but I've always been very suspicious of her, given her history as running a doxing website and a leftist.
Oh.
But anyway, she wrote, as the left is now describing, because this is a clip from an op-ed from the New York Times on MSNBC, as the left is describing Christ as King as something dangerous, it's very important to remember that the war on Christ was not started by the left. It was started by Andrew Klavan of the Daily Wire in an attempt to explain how I was anti-Semitic. I think this is pretty interesting. I wonder if this clip will play. Will you let me know if you hear this if I play
Okay.
it?
The day after Easter,
Yeah, I can hear
we're
it.
looking at a whole weekend of these types of upside down realities where Trump takes
Yes.
reality, twists it, and throws it against his people. I have to ask, though, about the people who have the means, whether it be leadership positions, financial means,
It's only 2 minutes long, so
educational
get to it
means,
here, I think.
who
Okay.
could, if they were invited or if they donated, go to Mar-a-Lago on a Saturday night and then go to church and celebrate Jesus's love on a Sunday morning.
Well, what we saw on Easter Sunday was a remarkable display of venom and hatred. I mean, really to the point, Mika, where you're right to wonder, is he okay? And we know the answer is no, he's not okay. But what's even more disturbing than that venom and hatred on Easter Sunday itself was the buildup of Holy Week. It featured Trump sharing posts where he compared himself, calling a post where a supporter compared him to Jesus and the trials he faces in court in New York to the trials Jesus faced, is a beautiful post. He's selling Bibles. And then, the sad thing is this isn't just confined to Trump anymore. We used to be able to say, or used to try to comfort ourselves by saying, well, Donald Trump is the bad guy. And then there's just so many good people who are fooled. And there are still good people who are fooled by him. But it's become increasingly clear that Trumpism and that Trump ethic is really leaking into American Christianity itself. As we saw during Holy Week, Christians all over Twitter were posting Christ is King, specifically aimed at Jewish Americans, specifically aimed to assert religious dominance in a very gross and ugly way. And we're seeing this just leak out, Mika, and it is very distressing.
Thoughts?
He's not showing examples of this at all. It's just like, okay, we're leading up to Easter. People are saying Christ is King. I mean, clearly that's the time to do it. I think speaking about venom and hatred, the venom and hatred came from them trying to push Transgender Awareness Day on Easter. That's what I think.
That's exactly right. Right?
Yeah.
The Christ is King stuff was happening, okay? And we agree that if somebody like said something heinous,
Right.
but I feel like was a very serious attempt to like obfuscate the fact that people were just testifying or people were just,
Yeah.
being supportive of their own faith, feeling comfortable to
Hmm.
come out and say what they want to say. And not to deny that there were people that were saying it because it felt like a rebellion. And
Right.
that's okay too. That's not
Yeah.
anti-Semitic. Like, hey, what do you mean I can't say this? I'm going to say it, and
Exactly.
it felt like this weird, like, by the way, I think it goes without saying, literally any other religion can proclaim what
Yep.
their similar affirmation of their God, and no one would say a dang thing about it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I know at least when I saw it, and I keep seeing people saying, "Oh, just be careful with how you say it. Don't weaponize Christ as King and all this." And I'm like, there is at no point saying the words Christ is King is never a problem. It's what you're attaching to it. And I'm not set for people acting like people are weaponizing this, being so hateful, this, that, and the other. They weren't showing examples. It's
Right.
like I saw maybe one or two people, but as a whole, for them to act like, oh, they're using this to be hateful, they're using this to be anti-Semitic, this, that, and the other. No, I wasn't seeing that at all. And we should be able to proclaim Christ is King without people getting all worked up and offended about it. And also, I find it weird about the Trump derangement syndrome that these people have as well. It's like they gotta they throw
Yeah.
Trump into everything.
Every aspect of their life, like if they go to the Subway sandwich shop and they
Yeah.
forget their mayo, they're like, Trump! Like,
It's
you just
Trump.
know. Yeah. Like, do I think Trump selling Bibles to fundraise is cringe? Yes, I do. Okay. You shouldn't be selling Bibles to profit for a political campaign.
Right.
Is
I
it gonna
agree.
let me, like, I just don't want to cheapen the Bible by doing that.
Yeah.
But, like, am I losing sleep over it? No. Am I, I think that, like, this weird pushback, and then Candace continued, by the way, underneath and said the entire narrative was made up of lies. No one shouted Christ is King at a Jew, and yet people began supposing that that could be anti-Semitic if someone had done it. Then they desperately began trying to find tweets written by anti-Semites to justify this bizarre attack. Conclusion: it was never anti-Semitism. It was always anti-Christian bigotry.
Yeah.
And I feel like whatever, for whatever reason it is, Christianity, I'm sure that there are people that, like, will be able to furiously type in chat why it is this way. But just as a casual observer, there is only one religion, just like there's only one group of people that you're allowed to
Mhm.
make up. You can make fun of white males all you want and with no repercussions in life. You can make fun of Christianity all you want and there's no repercussions. You don't see the left making fun of Islam. You don't
Right.
see the left making fun of Buddhism or literally any other religion, but
Mhm.
Christianity is always open season, which is why I think people were like, you know what? Hey, it's like double middle finger in the air. Like, yeah, Christ is king. Now what?
Exactly.
Like, if they can't understand that that's why people were doing that, then either they're dumb, which is possible. It's definitely possible, or they are purposely lying to, like, push on this weird,
For sure.
like, they're like, "You have 2 minutes. You have to say Christ is King is anti-Semitic and make it about Trump." And it's like, it doesn't make well, I don't understand.
This stuff, it just validates my faith even more, though. I mean, because the Bible does tell us, I mean, that people hated Jesus, they killed him. And so Jesus said they're going to hate you guys too. They hated me, they're going to hate you guys too. And so whenever we do see this pushback against Christianity, against Christians, I mean, being a Bible believing Christian will get you in a lot of trouble in society. Like, people can lose their jobs over stuff because, oh, you're a bigot because
Yeah.
you believe in the Bible. You can get deplatformed. Like, I got a 2-week suspension on Twitch for speaking about my biblical beliefs and principles. And
Starbucks just fired somebody because they would
yeah,
not affirm gender ideology because it flew in the face of their Christianity. Now, if that was a Muslim, and said, "Well, Islam does," I guarantee you they wouldn't have fired them. I guarantee it.
exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, clearly there's a problem here. And what society has done is they've tried to force Christians to have to be hippie Christians. That's what I like to call them. They force this, it's all about just turning the other cheek and loving thy neighbor, and they completely just take out of context the entire Bible, and they try to push this narrative that, oh, by the way, Jesus was a hippie that would be tolerant and affirm everybody and
let everyone walk all over him.
And just who washed feet, which, by the way, he washed his disciples' feet. So it wasn't like he was just washing every single person's feet and all that. So it's like they are pushing this narrative that in order to be a Christian, you have to affirm everyone. You have to approve of everybody and what they're doing, even if it's against the Bible. And, but Old Testament doesn't count. It's all about the New Testament, which is complete lie. The Old Testament is still the word of God. We're under a new covenant because Jesus Christ died for our sins, but it doesn't mean that what God called an abomination specifically isn't still considered an abomination to God now. So I mean, it's at the point where I get backlash personally from other people who call themselves Christians, but they're not following the Bible. Oh, you're not a real Christian. You're a fake Christian, when my beliefs are from the Bible.
Yeah, they're ENC, Eastern Christians, and like they're like, I just follow the silver lining. They don't actually. It's like many people in Islam. I had Tommy Robinson on, who's an expert on it, saying like Islam is not a buffet to pick and choose what you want, because there are certain things about that religion that many people find objectionable. The same is true with Christianity. And when this Easter weekend, of course, everybody in my family was eager to hear that I read the people are all, come to church with me, come to church with me. Most of my family, I'm like, well, I don't want to go to a non-denominational church, and I don't want to go to a progressive church. I want to go to a real church. And like, I think it's totally fine that people go to these non-denominationals because you're still worshiping, you're still gathering on Sunday. That's fine. But I want to go to a little church that smells like mold, that is not raking in $150,000 a week in donations. And they're on like a sprawling 400-acre property. I want to go. So like my grandmother-in-law or whatever was like, well, that I go to this little thing, come with me. But essentially that's, it was really weird how there are different kinds of Christians, different, levels of their devotion or what they're willing to say out loud. But it's the only religion where there are rules like that. If you were saying Islam says this, I no one would say anything. Buddhism, or I can't name all the religions out there, but whatever it is, you can't say it if you're a Christian. You're just, like you said, you're supposed to be a pacifist. You're supposed to be live and let live. You're supposed to accept gay marriage. You're supposed to accept all this kind of stuff because that's what Christians do. Except it's not.